Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot. Hey, everybody. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. This is our annual Thanksgiving Day hangover show, which is, get that tryptophan out of your system, wake up a little, and if you want to see a tired-looking turkey,
not so loud.
Greg.
Not so loud.
He tried to outdo himself last night.
I did.
I think he did do.
I did.
See, our guest already knows too well about Greg, but we're very thrilled to have Steve Tortoretti.
Well, yeah, they've called me a lot of things over the years. Some we can't mention today because it's a family show.
Sort of. I mean, you can swear this is an radio show. Yes. Everybody loves this. You get some people on here who are just like potty balls.
Well,
hi, Steve.
Hi. Hey, thanks for having me on today. And this is going to be an interesting story time.
But before we tell any stories, I actually had a question I've never asked all these years. What was everybody's first music club you ever went to?
The music club. Let me think. First.
Greg, you have one while he's thinking.
Wow.
Well, I grew up right near where the living room and the King's Lounge used to be.
Yeah.
I used to go there a lot, and that's like where I first started jamming, even though I was underage, because I could just walk over there. And then there was the Centurion on Goodman.
The Centurion.
Yeah, and which is like Steve and I, being drummers, we grew up in a different era, and we're
you're
kinda
different because you're drummers.
Well, yeah,
we are different.
We're beat off.
Yeah, that was going to mention that.
When you went to the Centurion, did you take a stab at a Caesar salad when you were at the Centurion? But for mine, I remember it well. It was the Penny Arcade, and remember now when we were kids, it had the allure of like a really badass place, but once you see these biker guys eating ice cream,
I know, right?
You can't look tough eating an ice cream.
That's right.
Yeah, I went to go see Saxon, and the only bad thing I had there, there's a person, Phil Stover, in my class who used to live there. He would make up all these stories, make it sound like it was like Roadhouse. But I would go down there. Only bad part of the show, there was Biff who was signing my album, and he's like, "This mark is fucked." Which is good, but I got pushed back. I literally got bumped into a 500-pound roadie for ZZ Top type, and he looks at me and I'm like, "Don't push, man."
Yeah. But I found, especially like I used to play the Woodshed all the time.
The Woodshed
with that band, the Chronics.
We'll take you to the Woodshed for the show.
I know. Those guys. If they have your back, you're golden.
Yeah.
That's why I like Johnny's, man. That's why I like Johnny's. Like, so the biker guys there?
There were a couple times where somebody was, messing with me, and the guy would, like, just stand there, like, do not fuck with him.
Yeah.
So then the guy just goes away.
Yeah.
Smoke at Joe's, too. That's where, like, some of the bikers that come in, I love them. They're all But before you were rudely interrupted.
Yes.
Get used to it on this show.
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, listen, so the first bar that I remember, or club, was the Mardi Gras down at Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
Which today is Tropics. But they had live bands there, and they had national bands there, too. I remember seeing REO Speedwagon in the very, very early stages with their first singer, and REO played there.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were underage. We were, I think, 16, 17, so we would wait for a fight to break out. We'd hang out on the sidewalk, wait till a fight to break out, and then we would run in when everybody's running out.
I know Cheap Trick played the Penny Arcade.
Penny Arcade. That was actually, at this point in time, it was before the Penny Arcade was there. It was Shakey's Pizza Parlor.
Right. Yep.
So we used to go there and order something to drink and a pizza and hang out there for a little bit and then stand on the sidewalk and wait for a fight to break out.
They used to have the piano player guy, too? There was one in Henrietta, too, I remember.
They probably did. Don't forget, those are my many years ago. In my youth.
But it was like a 20s theme, the straw hat. And
it's strange when you're young like that, the way memories are, because I remember, like, I would ask, like, on Whole Lot of Shakin' page, where the heck was Backstreets? Because I remember going, but one of my friends would drive. We saw Dred Zeppelin there, which is hilarious.
I think it was on Richmond Street.
Yeah, everybody. I actually asked. Everybody knew, but when you're younger, it's almost like the first time we went to Jazzberries.
Yeah.
So we saw the Kinks at U of R. Went to Jazzberries, and it's like vaguely in your head, you know.
Oh, yes.
Like trying to park and stuff. Plus, maybe a couple other things had the effect
I went to back streets.
Was it huge?
Lou Graham. Lou Graham's band was there.
Dribs and drabs of memories that, you know, you got little tidbits of things. Oh, yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember the rest of it.
You know what I'm lucky, though? I started like at 85, I started keeping a journal.
Did you? That's a good idea.
But then I'll go back, number one, I can't read my writing. Then, you know, memories like that, though, it's all in here somewhere.
Sure.
But then it pops in your head. But you had some stories to tell, or tell us about you, or whatever you want.
Well, I was born down by the river.
No,
actually, I was born and raised in the city. I grew up on Weld Street. Well, I didn't grow up on Weld Street. No, I was born on Weld Street. Let me rephrase that. And my family's from the city over there by the public market. And that's where I had my very humblest beginnings.
Yep.
Yeah. And eventually my family moved to Arundecoit, and I'm still there. East Arundecoit, New York. I'm happy about that. And got involved in music. My first memories of really diving into music were the Beach Boys.
Oh.
Okay. So this was around 1963 when they were actually first coming out. And we went to the Beach Boys concert in 64. That was my first concert. My first album was the Little Deuce Coupe album. And that got me really pumped up to get involved in music. I really dug the music on the Little Deuce Coupe and the Beach Boys music. 64, as I said, we went to the concert at the Auditorium Theater to see the Beach Boys. And we were 11 years old. Can you imagine? I can't imagine dropping your kids off today at 11 years old at a rock concert, you know, and then you're, as a parent, walking away and say, "Oh, I'll see you later. I'll see you in a couple hours."
I think they did that with me. I went to Iron Butterfly.
Did you?
Blues Image or whatever it was back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, so that was my first concert was the Beach Boys, and the first album was the Beach Boys. And, of course, the Beatles hit in 64. And so many of us that were at that tender age of 11 and 12 years old, maybe a little bit younger, were just bitten by the Beatle bug.
Yeah, that's where I want to be.
Yeah, and it was like, man, it's cool. It's cool. I want to do that, you know?
The strange part about the Beatles for me was, for some reason, when I was a kid, XXI would show Yellow Submarine on the 4th every year. And my friends and I would go act it out afterwards. Someone would be the Blue Meanies. Chase each other around with sparklers. So the first album... I know I good songs.
Wow.
You heard it here first.
So what I did was I went down to Gold Circle, saved my Paperboy money, and the first thing I got were those Beatles, the red and the blue.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With the we were the
red and the blue LPs, yeah.
But I have Little Deuce Coupe. Beach Boys, one of my top. And I think when you saw them then, and I told one of my friends, he still ruse it. His sister went to see the Beatles in Toronto.
Yeah.
Now, I might not be accurate. Supposedly that was the closest they came to here.
I believe that was. And I was fortunate enough to kind of move along with the Beatles story that by 66, and that was their last tour, and I was really deep into the Beatles by then. And my mom was cool, man. She took me to Cleveland to see the Beatles live in concert. It was their last tour. Man, that was quite a show. What I remember from that was, I remember the band Remains out of Cleveland. I believe they were out of Cleveland, and they were on the bill. Who else was on that bill? You know what? I forgot who else was on it. Don't matter, because I was there to see the Beatles.
And I think, too, people don't understand now. They're into the days of, like, the 2-hour-plus concerts. A lot of these bands played for, like, 20 minutes. Like, I remember Elvis Presley would have, like, magic acts and all these different things.
Yeah.
But that's what I tried to console my friend. I was like, his sister went to see the Beatles. He said, I'll see him next time. Of course, no. Next time.
Yeah.
I said, look, you wouldn't have heard him with all this screaming.
Well, that's true. That's true. What I remember about that show as well was when the Beatles finally did come out, the stage was set up at second base, and all the kids and all the general public, they were in the stands at the baseball stadium. And for security, they had a snow fence that ran from the third base side to the first base side. That's their security fence.
Right.
So as soon as the Beatles came out, what happened? All the kids jumped out onto the field and ran towards the stage. They knocked that snow fence down. And, of course, the Beatles saw 5,000 kids running towards the stage at them, so they actually...
You weren't like this rebel who pelted George and John with jelly babies.
No.
You know the story, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
They made the big mistake of saying they liked these
jelly babies.
Like the doctor. But they're not fun because the fans said, well, if you like them, we're going to throw them at you.
I know.
That's why you got to be a drummer, though. You gotta play with the
well, there was that famous story where Ringo was putting his cymbals up.
Uh-huh.
I think when they were in the
shield?
Philippines, because he was afraid somebody
I think Keith Moon did one to deflect a cabbage somebody threw at Townsend one time.
But, you were talking about the different variety of acts. I mean, back in those days, especially the Elvis period and all that, they were package tours.
Yeah.
They had 3 or 4 different bands, and they're all on the bus and all that, and everybody played 20, 25 minutes, and... Yeah.
Sounds Incorporated was another band that was on that tour. They were more of an instrumental band with a couple of go-go dancers up there.
Oh, nice.
So I remember the Sounds Incorporated from the Beatles tour. But definitely the Remains. They had that big hit called Diddy Wah Diddy, which was big on the East Coast by them. And then listening to... Mike Murray played Captain Beefheart's version of Diddy Wah Diddy, and they were big on the West Coast with that tune. But I always dug that tune, man, Diddy Wah Diddy. If you guys get a chance to listen to it,
pick your version.
Call it up and check it out. Diddy Wah Diddy by the Remains.
And we are still officially in Bovember, so...
Yeah.
November.
So along the way, I decided I want to play drums. So this is still early on. I'm probably 12 at the time. So I convinced my parents that I need to play drums. And somehow they went along with it. My mom was cool like that. My dad was on the straight and narrow, and he was very old school, if you will. So he wasn't too much into the music thing. But my mom was cool about it. I started taking lessons at Levis Music Store on East Main Street from Elmer Froelich, who was a big band jazz style drummer. And I started taking lessons from Elmer, and he taught me the rudiments, which I still remember today. I can't read music, and
you don't have to.
But so I started with that, and it just kind of snowballed. And then I started a little band with a cousin of mine. My cousin Randy played guitar. It was me on drums, Randy on guitar, and this other young fella from the neighborhood. And he was playing saxophone. So that was kind of a weird combination. No bottom end, no bass.
Yeah.
I was actually lucky. My parents are very tolerant of music.
Yeah.
But it's just something horrifying when your mom doesn't get the lyrics. When she was singing along with Venus and Furs from Velvet Underground.
Okay.
And you're going, no, don't.
Yeah.
But plus, my dad had the one weird thing, though, about music where it's like, Rod Stewart. Like, what about Rod Stewart? I bet he wears pantyhose. I could never figure that one out.
Yeah.
I remember my mother always told people that they'd say, well, isn't it so noisy? How can you stand it? And she would always say, I know where he is.
Okay. I know where he is.
I guess my mom, she was one of those good alcoholic families when she grew up, but they were fighting and yelling all the time.
Yeah.
So she liked noise.
Yeah.
Well, I had the typical Italian mom, so.
Okay. Well, mine was too, but she was cool. She was into the music thing. She was a big Sinatra fan, like most of our Italian moms were, and Dean Martin and all the old Italian singers from that era.
Right.
So from that band, it evolved into, well, by now I'm into high school, and I'm back into music again, and started a band with a it turned out to be very, very famous keyboard player. In fact, he was just in town, was Chris Caswell.
Oh, yeah.
Who turned out to be a superstar in the music field. I mean, this guy does it all. But I'll never forget the first time Chris came to my house, he walks in with an accordion. So this was freshman year in high school. So the Doors were hot, that Farfisa sound.
Right.
But Chris walks in with an accordion. And I went, uh-oh, what are we going to do with this? This is going to be interesting. That didn't last long. Chris convinced his parents to buy him not a Fender Rhodes, not yet. The Farfisa organ. I'm sorry. So now we're cooking. Chris is playing left-handed bass, playing keyboards, and that was a three-piece thing for a while. We had a guitar player. They were called the Lost Souls. How appropriate. I'm going to a Catholic church, and I'm a lost soul now. I think I've always been a lost soul along the way. I'm still trying to find myself. But so we had that band. We actually had added a singer for a while, Tommy, who I went to grammar school with. Tommy, we had a little four-piece thing going on. And it was more of a garage band. You know, we didn't really knock down any kind of the doors anyway around town, but it was more of just a garage band having fun.
There's been plenty of those.
Did you do any originals, or did you just stick covers?
No, we were all just doing covers. Incense and Peppermints by what was the name of that band? Strawberry Alarm Clock. Of course, you know, everything was based around Chris's keyboards. You know,
in terms of bands with names like that, one of my favorites is still the Chocolate Watch Band.
That's a great name.
I just got their entire collection.
Yeah,
it's amazing. They really didn't do that much.
Did you know that guy Ed King, that was in Leonard Skinner, wrote Incense and Peppermint?
Right. Yeah. Well, he was in the band. He was in that band.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. It's very what a 380 or 360 switch to playing with Leonard Skinner.
Well, I think a lot of it too was like Willie Nelson and them. They started as songwriters.
Yeah.
It's like Sonny Bono, right? Walk of the Dog, I think he did. Mm-hmm. And Bang Bang and.
Yeah, that's right. Sonny was writing music before Cher. Yeah. And then he found Cher. It was actually, he was going to promote her exclusively, from what I understand, and not really be a duo, but it evolved into a duo. I saw them. I believe they opened up for, let me think, was it Gary Lewis and the Playboys at the Auditorium, and with Sonny and Cher.
Wow.
Yeah. I was up little bopper up in the opera box there, and you know I'm out there jumping up and down.
I like those seats, though. I like the ones, the second tier.
Yeah, those opera boxes.
When I saw last time I was there was for Dylan, I was like up by the top.
Yeah.
Before, like at the beginning of the show, I couldn't figure out which one was him because there's a dude with a hat playing guitar.
Sure.
But he just plays keyboards now because I guess his fingers and everything.
Yeah. So from there, after that band, the Lost Souls, then I went on hiatus. I was really burned out.
Yeah.
I'm still burned out. So I think I just got out of music for a while. I didn't pursue it, and then eventually I got the bug again, and it was really after high school. It was quite a lapse in my musical progress there, and it's I'm into high school now. No, after high school, I apologize. And I got hooked up. I think I must have read an ad. I wanted to get back into music again. And I hooked up with the great Joe Beard.
Ah, okay.
So this is like 1973, I think it is. And I answered an ad. And I did one or two gigs. It's all it really was, a couple gigs with Joe. Because I'm learning how to play all over again. I had stopped playing. I really wasn't that serious. And I'm serious now, though, very serious. So
surely you can't be serious.
Oh, Shirley. Don't call me Shirley, right? So that's what happened then. I hooked up with Joe, but that didn't pan out, sadly enough. I wish it had. We spun off, the bass player and I, Paul Flannery, spun off from working with Joe, and I really got serious at that point. I said, this is it, I'm going to do this now. So Paul and I started up the band Circus. So this is early 70s now, early 73.
I remember that.
I remember that.
Remember Circus? It was a circus, and that's why I picked that name. But as you know, when you're doing a startup with a band, you don't get the best quality musicians. I mean, we went through a lot of auditions trying to find people that would fulfill the role, who worked out well with the rest of us and could play. I mean, I certainly couldn't play, so maybe that's why we had a hard time.
Well, no, I
couldn't play.
I have so many stories.
You're being a little hard on yourself there.
Just about people like friends' bands, the horror stories I have about people auditioning.
Yeah.
And the worst part is when somebody comes in and they're like how great they are, you know.
Oh, my
But
God.
there's one, you don't have to be a fan of Kiss. If you ever see a movie called Tribute, it's about tribute bands.
Yeah.
So there's a story about the Kiss tribute band. The guy who plays Gene Simmons actually goes nuts and burns the house down.
Oh,
so they
really?
try to get, like, audition. The one guy you get, he comes in, he's like, I want to live my dream,
Yeah.
you know. And as soon as they start, the guy, and they're looking.
Oh, yeah.
And like they're discouraged. You see him packing his bass and leaving.
Oh,
and
man.
then one guy goes, "No, that guy sucked."
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a shame because everybody tries. I mean, everybody's trying out there. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, you get these phone calls, and I said, well, tell me about yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What have you done musically? And they'll go on and on. Oh, yeah, I'm a great this, and I'm a great that, and I can do this, and I can do that. Then you get them down live, and everybody knows who's ever been in a band. And then you start scratching your head. It's like, oh my God, this is a disaster.
Yeah, well, you
I
gotta
do the
walk the
Chico
walk,
Marks to you.
man.
I do the Chico Marks to you. Well, give me $15 and I'll play. Well, what about practice? Well, you couldn't afford it because if I don't practice, I don't play, and you'll want that.
You know, and that was something we were talking earlier about, like topics.
By the way, we have to tape the pre-show every time. It's better than the show.
I know, right? The secret discussions.
Yeah.
No, but we were talking about how, like, a lot of times the people we have on are from the indie thing and the original thing.
Yeah.
And Steve and I, we kind of started with these other kinds of. We were all in these cover bands.
Cover bands, yeah.
I was in a band Subway with Rich.
I remember Subway with Rich, yeah.
And all those, and we were playing all those.
Hi, Rich.
Yeah, hi, Rich.
Who's Rich?
Rich Fiordaliso, one of my favorite buddies from grammar school, man.
Yeah.
We were playing. He played Hammond, Oregon, and we were playing all the Italian standards because his father had a fake book of Italian.
Oh, yeah.
Of like Spanish Eyes and La Paloma and all that stuff. And I'm playing brushes, and that was kind of an interesting, humble beginning. But anyway, we were playing these like the 6 night a week deals.
Oh,
like
my
we
God.
Were talking about.
Yeah.
You set up on. Play on Tuesday or something. You play right through Saturday, and you don't have to screw around with taking stuff down. And
right.
That's how it used to be, especially in the 70s.
The 70s, yeah. You get into a club and you'd be there for a while.
I had read like the history of Long Island music. Everybody, there was the Good Rats used to play here all the time.
Good Rats, yeah.
But you could make buku bucks.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
On
it was
Long
a huge
Island.
circuit.
Or like Ronnie Dio. When they were playing with the Red Caps and all this stuff when he was starting out in the 60s, you get these club gigs in central New York or at colleges.
Right.
Yeah.
You play these crazy sets to like all these like 4 or 5 hour sets.
Right.
Yeah, our first gig, we mentioned the Centurion Lounge in Rochester on Goodman Street, and once we got the lineup settled in Circus, we learned our sets. We had enough music to do a whole night, and the Centurion, Vic Carroll was the owner there at the Centurion. Vic came down to my house and we did an audition, and he hired us. He liked the band, and we're doing top 40 stuff. Some soul things, some, Doobie Brothers, which were popular at the time, all the top 40 stuff. So Vic came down, hired us for 2 weeks. It was our first gig, 6 nights a week for 2 weeks. Okay.
That's a good warm-up.
It's a good warm-up. And, thanks to Vic, he really got my career started, if you want to call it that. My local, I'm playing in a local band. I was real happy about that. Finally got my feet wet, and I got out there with Circus, and we were popular for a number of years. Went through some lineup changes like most bands do, but we held our own, and we did well. It didn't last as long as I maybe had hoped,
right?
But things change, people come and go. It's a very fluid business, as everyone out there knows who plays in a band.
Well, it always strikes me as odd too, because it's like well, I want to play. Well, now we're playing too much. Well, then you back off. Well, we're not playing enough.
Not playing enough.
You can't. You got to find. Yeah. You got to make up your mind, man. Pick a lane.
Right.
Either you want to do this all the time, or you don't want to do this all the time.
And I do still always believe the best thing for bands is chemistry too.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
You can have some virtuosos. It's not gonna. And I think also, too, like you get your Jeff Becks and everything, who were great, but they couldn't work with people.
Right.
And you think of how much better they would be if they could cooperate, and you should have a lot of confidence, but don't have so much ego or...
Follow the career of, with you mentioning that, Eric Clapton.
Right.
All his most popular bands, he was only in them for like 2 years.
Right.
Now he would say with Cream it was more Ginger and Jack than him.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
well, I mean, he quit the Yardbirds because he didn't like one of their hit, the biggest hit that they had.
It wasn't bluesy. It wasn't bluesy.
It's like you quit the band because of a song. I mean, you're on the verge of making it really, really big, and they did, and he quits. That's when they got Jeff Beck.
I would love to find footage when I read his book. He's had some issues with various things. Yeah. When he played supposedly Rich Stadium, I was addicted to bubble yum for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Grape. But... and I
got some in his hair.
Let me pick that out for you. Hang on, it's right over here. Hold on.
So there's a concert he played supposedly at Rich Stadium where it was on the Ocean Boulevard tour.
Okay.
He was so wasted. He played it laying down the whole time.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, I just had a flashback. We went to Rich Stadium in '74 to see Clapton. And he came out
that must be the one
drunk as a skunk. I mean, he couldn't. Really? As soon as he walked out, he told the audience right over the mic in the PA, "I'm bloody drunk today. I can't play." Yvonne Elliman, who had a big hit song in Saturday Night Fever, was his guitar player. Yeah. Remember Yvonne's big hit?
She was in Jesus Christ Superstar.
She was in that too, but she was his guitar player. She did all the guitar work for him. He was wasted.
I thought she was a singer.
What a disappointment.
I wonder if that was the show then, because I just heard he was in it, because he talked about it in his book, so you don't know. How could he even remember what he actually did?
No.
Well, it's that whole be careful of, meeting your heroes.
Yeah, that's true.
That's like you hear from a lot of guys in bands who were Aerosmith fans. They go, I saved up my money to go see Aerosmith, and Steven Tyler fell off the stage after the first song.
Yeah.
But you know what? You have to think, what is the inner workings of all that? Is it the pressure? Is it the... Well, it doesn't matter.
Lifestyle, too.
We can do whatever we want to do, and we're going to still get paid. I mean... Or is it just that they don't care, or is it just that they don't have the discipline, or whatever?
The excess you're speaking of, like the drugs and the what else? The alcohol and the sex. It's all true, ladies and gentlemen. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
In that order?
Not necessarily in that order.
There's actually a book by this guy. It's called Fargo Rock City. It was the idea of, more like metal bands, but when you lived in these areas, it was big.
Yeah.
So he talks about... one time I met the guys from Cinderella, and they were just normal dudes.
Right.
And I was really disappointed.
I
love that band.
So then he goes, they were just your normal guys. So then Guns N' Roses played.
Yeah.
And I found Slash's room. I asked him to sign, so he came out, wobbled over, and threw up on the side.
Oh.
And his manager, the guy goes, he's had a rough... I go, at least the guy's authentic.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you're talking about authentic. Speaking of meeting somebody in their room, so my buddy worked at the Holiday Inn. I'm kind of like jumping around here.
That's carnival. That's what
we do.
I'm jumping around, kids. So my buddy worked at the Holiday Inn. I don't know he was a dishwasher or something. And there was a concert in town with Rare Earth, the band Rare Earth.
Right.
Livingston Taylor was on the bill, which is James Taylor's, I believe, younger brother. Doesn't matter, younger or older. James Livingston was on the bill. So my buddy says to me, he says, after the concert tonight, there's going to be a big party upstairs in their room. He says, we should go. I says, well, do you know are we invited? He goes, we'll just go up there, man. I'll get us in. Don't worry. So after the concert, we go back to the Holiday Inn, and we go up to the room. He knew the room number. We knocked on the door, and the door slowly opens, and there's Livingston Taylor there. Right? He says, yeah, can I help you guys? Hey, my buddy and I are looking at each other, and we look back at Livingston and go, well, we heard there's a party here tonight. Is there a party? Says, well, guys, I'm sorry to disappoint you. No, there's no party, but you're welcome to come in, and shoot the shit with us. Right. Can I say that? The cheese. Shoot the cheese. So, yeah, we hung out with Livingston, and, we told some stories like we're telling here. He was really a cool dude. That was the party.
That's the one. My one part about Clapton, where I will give him a little respect, was during the Howlin' Wolf sessions when he played in London, and they had Herbert Sumlin, and Clapton was invited. He goes, "We have Sumlin. What do you need me for? Good man."
Right.
Oh yeah.
Good man.
I think it's cool when they're normal, because then you realize, hey, they're just like us, and it kind of breaks down what you're imagining.
Think about it a little, though, too. Like, you're on those days, especially, you're on the road 300 days a year.
Right.
You get that, you're wired from the concerts.
I was wired last night after we went to see Rich play with the Back in Town kids. If you haven't seen the band Back in Town, I'm going to plug them right now.
They're great.
They're back in town right now.
They're back in town. So check it out. Rich Fiordaliso on keyboards. Who's Rich? It's a little.
Who's Rich?
Rich knows. Rich knows who Rich is.
That's what I like, too, is I live vicariously through friends of mine. Yeah. I just do this podcast with, a great drummer, of course, but still, he's a drummer.
Okay.
We make little drummer groups.
I make you.
My friend Rob Mount, who's been my friend for 35 plus years, he ended up, I remember when we were playing Gothic Toad in high school, and there was a little side band called Feedback, because the amps were $15 and they blew up. But then Rob never stopped. He's playing with Lou. He's playing with Hanson.
Rob is great. Hi, Rob. Love your playing, dude.
Good man.
I love his little, what's he got, that guess the song or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I always do the wrong answer on purpose. I don't even listen to the song.
See, that's kind of where I fall short, is I don't really get into all, this is like the most media thing I do, as far as I do
well, you
Facebook
started
stuff.
At the top.
Yeah, right. But I don't do all that Instagramish stuff. I do some, but not like some of these guys do. They're every day.
That's really cool, though. I give those guys a lot of credit.
Right.
I'm not very tech savvy, as most everyone knows.
Neither am I, but the man in there is.
Yeah, I'm old school. I'm sorry. Just tell me where the gig is. I'll show up and I'll play it. That's all.
I got your note with from the carrier pigeon the other day. So
that's actually.
I called him this morning and he doesn't answer.
I just thought it was a good question to ask you two.
Like, in the car.
When you were starting out playing, especially back in the Luddite days, you guys ever get lost going to a gig?
Oh my God!
Yeah. I got lost going to see friends.
You know what? I have to say, I never have gotten lost. I've made every gig I was ever booked to do. I got one story, though, quick, is I got out of the band thing for a while, and I started up a DJ service. So I had a party in Stanley, New York, which is outside of Canandaigua.
Right.
So there was a blizzard that night, okay? So this is before all the computer stuff. You're just using a road map and jot down some notes on left, right. So I'm out there in Stanley in a blizzard with the DJ equipment in my car, looking for this party house. I could not find this place, okay? And I said, man, I hate that I'm talking to myself, and I do that a lot lately. I always argue with myself, and I always win. But I'm bummed.
At least you know you're listening.
So I said, I can't find this place. I said, I hate to do this, but I'm pulling the plug. I'm going home. There's a flipping snowstorm going on here. So I started heading back home, and lo and behold, by the grace of God, there's the party house. I ran right into it. I got into the gig on time, started on time.
Awesome.
And I made a couple dollars.
See, it's even better. I used to be like the Atlas, the Rand McNally man.
Yeah.
And the first time I went to the Mohawk in Buffalo, I used the GPS. It took me to East Mohawk Street. I'm at a dead end.
Oh, yeah. It'll take you the wrong way every now and then.
When Kayla played out at this place at Weedsport, and I told her afterwards, like, look, I'm probably just going to follow you home.
Yeah.
It was like, your GPS dies.
Yeah.
And there's a place called Big John's. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to go in there.
Okay.
There was one gig, I forget, it was like a rock band, cover band, but it was in Watkins Glen. And it wasn't the main part of Watkins Glen. It was like, you go up by the racetrack, but it's like, you turn by the racetrack. Okay, so I'm driving, I'm driving. There's woods. I'm like, where the hell is?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's this bar in the woods.
Middle of nowhere.
You know, the one for me, I think it was called The Haunt. It was in Ithaca.
Yeah.
And the first time I went down there, I'm like, where the heck is this? There's like this grunge road of gravel.
Yeah.
And it's there. And then coming home, I see these weird lights on the road. Like, is this my first UFO encounter? It was actually an Amish buggy.
Oh, wow.
And they must have had the pedal lights because they can't use.
Yeah.
It's like 4 a.m. There's an Amish buggy going down the road.
There's a few of those that have been hit from behind over the years, sadly. Yeah. The horses never seem to fare very well.
But always go down 89, not 90 in Ithaca, because otherwise you'll hit those hills.
Well, Pennyana's bad, too.
Before we were rudely interrupted.
This is the
carnival.
Yay, kids, thanks for having me today. We're coming to you live from the Carnival of Randomness. Thank you very much.
Somewhere deep in the bowels of Pittsburgh.
So, I would have never found that the street signs out here are so tiny. It's like, I didn't wear my glasses today. I said, I'm glad I followed Greg. I was fine until
I'm always afraid of making that right to come by growth because of the leaves. I'm afraid I'm going to slide across the leaves. All our fans are going to storm the studio. We're sitting revealing where we are.
Well, there was a line forming when we got here.
That's right.
I think they were here for Greg.
Well, it's the whole thing as I was born on Taylor Swift's birthday, and a lot of people mistake me for her.
Yeah.
So I just do selfies now and sign.
Okay. I was born down by the river, if I didn't mention that
before.
Down
by the river.
Now, speaking of selfies, this guy's the king of selfies, there, Steve.
Well, I like to document things, man. You know, and I really started way before cell phones. I was taking pictures of whomever years ago.
Cool.
It is cool. You know, it's like it helps you remember things.
Right.
Where is Holcomb? I don't even remember that.
Holcomb, New York. I have no idea.
It's on
your CD.
It's out in the country. That's all I know.
This was 1976. All right. So this is the band After Circus. So Circus, we went our separate ways, or whatever happened there. It was not.
You weren't clowning around at that point.
No. It was all over. The clowning was over. So I answer another ad in the newspaper. This time I'm looking for a gig instead of starting a band, and I find an ad, drummer wanted. In those days, and
most of us are
those dark ages, those dark ages of looking for a band before the internet was the newspaper, and the newspaper had a section where it's It's a entertainment or musicians wanted, something to that effect.
I remember that. Yep.
So that's where we would look. So I see an ad, drummer wanted. So I answer the ad, and I had to go to the Shed House over on Lyle Avenue, Lyle and Mount Read Boulevard.
Was this Boyd's band?
This was the famous Boyd McCoy.
Oh man, he was a trip.
Boyd was so
7 feet tall.
Yeah, I go in the store and Boyd's there in all his glory, and we do the interview. This was an interview first, and not so much of an audition. But I always joke, if you knew Boyd, he likes to talk. Boyd likes to tell a story, and Boyd likes to talk. He'd be perfect for this show. Sadly, he's not with us anymore. But so Boyd's asking me a million questions, and it's taken forever in this interview. I always joke. I said I was still living home with Mom at the time, and I always joke that Mom was getting ready to put my face on the side of the milk carton, lost child. I was gone so long for this interview. I was like, when I got home, where have you been? I said, well, I've been with the infamous Boyd McCoy.
Did he do his own jingle, or was that somebody else? The Shed, how everybody's putting us on. Remember that one?
I don't remember.
I wonder if it was him singing, or if it was like, Chuck Bricato, or one of those guys that does all the jingles.
I don't remember that.
Andy may know.
Andy may know, yeah. So Boyd did a couple of LPs. They were recorded before I got in the band, so I kind of rode on the tail. How do they say that?
The Shed House.
The Shed House.
Commercial?
Yeah. I wonder who did it. Because they had a jingle.
We're shifting gears, folks.
Right.
And it might have been Boyd McCoy himself.
The great and powerful wizard of Andy.
Andy snuck into the recording studio.
I've just got to tell you, we're talking about bands and first concerts. My first band that I saw was the Electric Prunes.
Oh, there you
go. I was in Florida with my parents.
Yeah.
And it was a state, county fair, so we went. I said, man, Mom, I want to go see the. Like I said, my mom was always bringing me around to see groups.
Yeah.
So the first concert was at the Electric Prunes at this company.
It's great.
I want to see the Electric Prunes.
I had too much to drink last night.
Oh, yeah.
You stole my line. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Don't you feel well, honey? You need
You
prunes?
are blessed among guests. He rarely pops in.
Can he really do that? Can he crash the show?
Yeah.
It's
his show.
It's
gotta
his
be
show.
special.
It's his show. He can do anything.
He can shut us off, you know.
So anyway, I got into the Boyd McCoy band, and I had a lot of fun with that band. Boyd was quite a character. If you knew Boyd back in the day, to know him is to love him. He was easy to work for and easy to work with. I had a lot of fun. That lasted a couple years, and I eventually moved on. There were some things going on that, you move on when things you're not feeling right. Things aren't, you know the feeling. So a couple years with Boyd, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. But we played all over. In fact, we played in this one bar, and you either liked Boyd's voice or you didn't. He was kind of he had that raspy, soulful voice.
Right, I remember that.
And either you liked it or you didn't. I had a bar owner come up to me one night, and he said to me, he goes, Stevie, he says, the band is really good. He goes, but you got to get rid of that singer. It was Boyd's band. It's like, no, I don't think I'm telling the band leader that he's leaving the band.
Right.
So not too long after that, it's back to the drawing board, putting a band together. And I don't know how this thing came about, but I'll tell you what, this was a great band. It was short-lived, sadly, but we had some great players in this band. I'm going to go down the list here. I brought some notes. So, five-piece band was called Heads or Tails. And we had Greg Petralis on lead vocals and Hammond B3 organ.
I remember him.
We had Joe Graziano on Fender Rhodes and trumpet. And Joe, if all you music aficionados from the Rochester area remember Joe from the Brass Buttons. And I'll tell you what, Joe was one of my idols, and it was a real thrill. In fact, actually, Joe was in the latter part of Circus. So this will be the second band that now I'm playing with Joe Graziano from the Buttons, and it was quite an honor. I love Joe, loved him dearly, and I miss him dearly. Sadly, he's left us now. But so we had Greg on Hammond B3 and trumpet too, and then Joe on Fender Rhodes and trumpet. Bill Turchetti was on lead guitar and lead vocals.
I love Bill. We went to school together for a while.
Myself on drums. Yeah, you knew Bill.
Yeah.
Myself on drums and lead vocals, and we had a fella that I'm still working with today, Howie Goldwasser on bass guitar and lead vocals. So we had five-piece band, 4 lead vocalists, 5-piece band, and 7 instruments because the 2 keyboard players, Greg and Joe, also played trumpet. So we had a big sound.
Yeah.
We had a big sound. And that was really a great band. As I said, sadly, it was short-lived. We couldn't think of a name, and I just threw it out there. I go, well, Heads or Tails, I don't know, something's got to come up. And wait a minute, Heads or Tails, how about that name?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Nobody ever uses my suggestion for narcotic lollipop for me.
I like
Feel free. Don't
Yeah.
let anybody you can.
Well, Howie's still playing.
Howie's still playing. Howie and I are still together.
And he was in that band with Rich Fiordaliso back in the day.
Yeah. So, in fact, one night Howie brought a real tape deck, and so we've got a CD that Howie taped or actually recorded off the tape. So we've got some memories here from the songs that we did. And once again, it was a top 40 band. We were doing a lot of oldies. We did a Rascals medley. We did a Sly and the Family Stone medley. We did some Chicago, if I remember correctly. And Howie and I's favorite song, You Make Me Feel Like Dancing. Yeah.
It was the era.
Yeah, it was a disco era by 77.
Well, you mentioned the Brass Buttons. I mean, there was that whole era, too, where we had a couple of really good brushes with fame right here locally, like Gene from the Rascals.
Oh, Gene Cornish.
I'll never hear the end of that because my mom played bingo with his mom.
Oh, his mom was a sweetheart.
Yeah, and she would always talk about Gene Cornish, about where they grew up. And so when Gene played his Thanksgiving concert, I talked about it. He's like, go see that woman over there. Because both their moms had passed.
Didn't he have a bait shop or something?
His father had a bait shop.
On Clinton or something.
Somewhere
and
in the
this
city.
woman remembered my mom well from bingo, and she probably cheated, but
I have been fortunate to have gotten to know Gene over the years and spent a lot of time with him when he's been in town. And I tell you, he's got some stories. And Gene, he's a storyteller. He'd be great in here. I tell you, he's got some great stories.
I used to love his Thanksgiving thing at the Hog every year.
Yes, definitely. In fact, he made my day one time. We were there for one of the shows, and I was out. In fact, Andy was playing keyboards. And I was out in the audience, and Gene called me up on stage. He goes, Stevie, get up here. I went, what? So we did Good Lovin'. And it was an all-star band. Gene used to bring a couple of his guys from the New York area, and then he'd do a pickup thing with some of the local guys. Like I say, Andy played keyboards that night. David Cohen played drums that night. And there's a video out there from the song. We did Good Lovin'.
You know, he's funny. He was almost like a secret weapon, because if you listen to on the recordings, he was always kind of understated, but his parts were really cool. If you listen to his
friend Pat Barrius, lives in Louisville, he's a singer in various bands. He flipped that my mom knew Gene Cornish and I met him.
Remember that?
What?
Ladies and gentlemen,
top of that skyscraper.
I'd like to introduce Andy Calabrese.
This is a special show this year.
Actually, Gene is what made the Rascals the Rascals. If they had any other, they could have got a guitar player that more versatile.
Yeah.
The Rascals would not have been the same.
Nope.
What he added.
Right. Gene had a style, man. He had a style, all his own.
Rockabilly, rock.
Watch any of the early Rascals clips from any of the shows, specifically maybe the Ed Sullivan Show. And Gene, he was just having fun. That band was a fun band with Eddie and Gene up front. Dino, are you kidding me? One of my all-time idols. Dino Dinelli, ladies and gentlemen. Watch Dino. If you inspire to be a drummer, check out Dino Dinelli.
He had some great moves, too.
We're spoiled, though, because we know about him, but other people, they went crazy when they found out I knew, like, Gene, Like, wow, he's my favorite. They're the best.
Did you see their reunion tour? That was 2012?
2013. Yeah, it's been, is that 10 years now? Yeah, 10 years already gone by.
I'm thinking of that song, Come On Up, which isn't a big hit of theirs, but if you listen to his guitar part, he's doing all these, like, upstroke, cool rhythm things. It's really
a childhood memory. Watching a band, it was like some school, like in the Hudson Avenue, Portland, Goodman area, kind of, and looking in, watching the Rascals. Is that possible at some school?
Probably.
Yeah. But back in those days, sure.
I just have this vague memory of that.
Yeah. Well, they played the U of R Palestra. Sadly, I didn't make that show, but I do have pictures from it. But the Rascals were here a couple times. They had to be. Gene's from Rochester, so you got to get booked in your hometown.
Right.
But I didn't see the original line, the original days, the first time out. I saw the reunion show for sure, and I'm disappointed I didn't go see one or two more, because they played, I believe, Syracuse. They played Buffalo, and I know a friend of mine went to Toronto to see them, because early on they didn't release a lot of the dates. It was kind of like they trickled out the dates as far as where they were playing. And they really tested it in the New York area. They wanted to see what the response was going to be, from what I understand.
A lot of bad blood in that band, though, with different factions.
Yeah. Eddie was the first one to leave.
Right.
Eddie left first. They actually did their last album with only 2 cuts from Eddie. The rest of them stayed together and finished the album. It was Gene, obviously, Felix, and Dino. Really without Eddie, who only sang 2 songs. In fact, he sang The Letter by the Box Tops on that album, and they rearranged the whole thing. It's an interesting arrangement.
The last albums are pretty unique.
Yeah,
Once Upon a Dream, that's a weird
even
one.
way after that.
The last two albums gravitated more towards the jazz feel, because that's what
Felix and Dino.
Felix and Dino.
And
the very last album was just Felix. The Island of Real was. I don't even think
David
Dino.
Sanborn's on there.
Yeah, they had some top dogs that played on that album for sure. But
I think Dino was on that too.
Was he? Did he stay with him on the last album? Okay, I'm sorry.
I think so.
We're very linear on these shows. We usually are.
Yeah, well, we're going to make mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have any notes in front of us.
And vague memories at best.
This might even be a mistake for me sitting here. I don't know. I hope not. I hope you're enjoying the show, everybody.
Steve, is
very interesting.
So, all right. So
you get the formula, though. We don't talk about. Now it's our time.
We're everywhere.
We're going to share our Christmas cookie recipe before we go on.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah.
No.
That reminds me, I forgot to turn the stove off before I left the house. I hope my house is...
Whoops.
So there we go with Heads or Tails, everyone, if you remember. In fact, one very good friend that I met during those days, and that was, I say, back in 77. It's amazing you meet so many nice people along the way.
Right.
And we're still friends today. She nicknamed, this young lady named us Nuts and Bolts. She used to call us Nuts and Bolts. Well, we were a little nuts, and we still are.
Good old Tuts Villa, too.
Tuts Villa. Yeah, that's where this was recorded from Tuts. That was a 3-night gig.
My Uncle Norbert drank many nights away.
Oh, yeah.
I played there a bunch of times. It's fun.
Yeah. 3 nights. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Tuts.
I very much remember them.
Ezra in the Storm, because we played the bar scene. I was the... Initially, once again, I answered an ad in the newspaper. Now, I had been out of the business for quite a long time. I think about the number of the years that I was outside of the business, and it's sad because you don't get those years back. But I always had the burning desire to get back into it, and I finally did. And I answered an ad. It was for a new band starting up called Ezra and the Storm. And I answered the ad, did the audition, but I was passed up because of my hours. I was working crazy rotating shift work hours at Kodak at the time. So although they liked me, I believe, they liked my style of playing, I was passed up. And but I stayed in touch with the guys. I liked the band. I liked what they were doing. And they hired a fella, Paul Francisco. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
They hired Paul, and Paul was their drummer for a couple years, and until Paul decided he was going to leave. Well, by then my hours changed at Kodak. I was working straight days, thankfully, and kept in touch, as I said, with the band, with the guys in the band, and I got my second opportunity to join Ezra and the Storm, which this time I got it. I got the gig.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, out of all the bands, that's one of my favorites. I really enjoyed playing the blues rock stuff that Ezra was playing with this band. I got quite an education, learned a lot of new artists that I was really not so much into the blues so much, and I got quite an education on some of the old school blues artists, blues guitar players. So this was a power trio, guitar, bass, and drums. I really had to learn how to play differently, because I'm used to playing parts where, they're like, how do you say, like technical parts on top 40 pop songs that you're not playing on blues rock songs.
Right.
All right. It's a whole, you're doing a lot of shuffle beats. And, of course, now we're 3-piece, so you've got to fill some empty space with guitar, bass, and drums. You don't have that rhythm in there of another guitar player or a keyboard player. So I played a lot of open hat on the hi-hat
right,
cymbals.
I was going to say, you need washy or cymbal
washy sound to fill it in a little bit. And so I really got an edumacation, as I like to say, playing with Ezra. And I was very thankful that Ezra took a chance on me. And Ray Sherrata was our bass player in the beginning. Ray started it with Ezra. And hello, Ray. I know Ray listens to this show. Ray's in Cleveland now.
I've been trying not to say it. Hello, Cleveland.
Hello, yeah.
Saxon recording. Good
we did this with that one's sealed.
Dave Anderson,
Dave Anderson. Dave's a great egg, man. I love Dave.
I should look into getting this.
Yeah. So I was with Ezra for a couple and a half years until Ezra decided to take a break. It was his turn to take a break. So I'm just getting started again, and all of a sudden, I'm shut down again. I went, oh no. So what happened was, by now we changed bass players. Ray had left. We had Teddy Peck for a little while, another great player in town. Teddy's been, he's played with some of the top dogs around Rochester for years. Yeah, Teddy was a lot of fun.
Yep.
If you're listening, Teddy, love you, buddy. And so Teddy was out, and then we auditioned a few more guys, and then we got Howie. Now this was a reunion for Howie and I, because we're into 2012 now, and Howie and I hadn't played since the 70s with Heads or Tails. But we stayed in touch. Howie and I knew each other through the years. We just weren't playing together. So I called Howie. I said, hey, dude, we're looking for a bass player. You interested? And Howie, of course, said, yeah, I'd like to come down and give it a shot. So Howie come down and blew everybody away.
He's a great player.
Yeah. Howie was the guy that filled the role. And so he stayed with us until Ezra decided to move along, and that band folded. So we tried to get a replacement for Ez, but he had big shoes to fill, man. He really did. He did it all. Ezra sang lead. He played lead and rhythm very well. He was smooth, very smooth. And sadly, he's just not playing anymore. He put the guitar down, and
too bad.
It is. I've tried to make contact with him. We've really lost contact with one another. Sadly, I miss Ez. We had a lot of fun together, a lot of laughs, of course. And but Howie and I stayed together. Some side projects, some fill-in work along the way after Ezra and the Storm. I did a lot of fill-in stuff. In fact, I filled in for you, Greg, with Brian,
right?
For a gig.
Yep.
Yeah, me and who was it? Played bass guitar. I'm having a brain.
Jim Lampert?
No. It was Tim Thomas.
Oh, Tim.
Tim and I filled in for you on a gig, and that was a lot of fun. We played at the Bayside Pub out in Webster.
Hottest winnings I've ever had.
I've actually been playing with Tim with this other 47
straight
South
hot,
thing.
don't go out the next day.
Yeah, Timmy's with 47 South. I don't know how those guys, well, never mind. It's like...
I just fill in with them.
Yeah,
so they're
great bunch of guys, good band. They got about how many guitar players in that band?
Like 3 or 4.
5 guitar, 3, 4.
I'll tell you what, though, they're pretty high tech. I mean, you know, in-ear monitors, and they got, you know...
Yeah, they do a nice job.
Everything is set up nice, and the sound guy, and, you know, they don't mess around. You know, they have a little intro. It breaks me up. They have this intro.
Oh, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, they said they got some DJ from California to do it. It's pretty funny. But it's like a bit, you know, like a show.
Yeah. So we're at the Ezra and the Storm era.
Yeah.
And speaking of fill-in work, so I get a call one day, and there was a fundraiser coming up for Officer Darrell Pearson, who sadly was shot and killed in a line of duty here in Rochester. This was back in 2014. In fact, Richie was on keyboards for this. So they were putting together, it was a retired police officers from the Rochester Police Department who played instruments, obviously, and sang, and they were putting a band back together that was a fundraising band, but they needed a drummer, because their drummer, Dave Barnes, was not available at the time.
Dave, oh
yeah.
My God.
So we put together this fundraising band, and we were going to play at the Harrow East Ballroom for the Memorial Fund for Officer Pearson's kids. So it was about 2 months worth of rehearsals for that. And we ended up raising like $8,000.
Very nice.
Yeah, we named the band after Darrell Pearson's nickname. He was called Rain Man. That was his nickname, Rain Man. Out on the street, his buddies called him Rain Man. So that was the name of our band for that. It was really a one-off thing, but it was enjoyable, and it was for a good cause. So I was happy to partake in that event. And
that sounds cool.
Yeah. So then there was another gap, some more fill-in work, and not too long after that, I went to a house party, and the band, there was a band set up. The drummer was, I'm going to draw a blank now. Help me out here. It was...
wasn't him, right?
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't him. It wasn't Greg, sadly, but...
Nobody forgets me.
Dana Valentine. Hey, boom, there we go. The light just went off. So Dana was playing with a band called Third Degree. So the band was all set up, and we're jamming and stuff. And sadly, Dana came down with some health issues.
Yeah.
And so I get a call one day, Stevie, can you fill in for Dana? We need a drummer. I said, yeah, I'd love to. I'd like what you guys are doing. And along the way, that one job led to another, and eventually Dana said that he was going to have to take a break because of his health issues, and that's where I'm at now. It's been 5.5 years.
Wow.
Still officially part of the Third Degree, and we've had a lot of fun. Another blues rock band. We're doing a little bit of everything, and we've been playing the Rochester area now. I've been with the band the band's been together for 20 years, and Mark Francis, that's his band, and he keeps the band rolling along. And I've been with the band 5.5 years now. And Howie, as I said, Howie, once again, I didn't mention that. So we needed a bass player. I no sooner joined, and after Dana left, played with the band for a couple of months, and their bass player come down with some health issues, and now we need a bass player. So back to the drawing board, auditioning bass players. And here I get on the phone. Howie, interested in this? Yeah, okay. Comes down, blows everybody away. Boom. Stevie T and Howie back together again.
And I think this is interesting when you talk about all this. Kids, listen up.
Pay attention. There's going to be a test later.
Don't burn your bridges.
That's right.
Keep your options open.
That's right.
Always, because you never know who might call you back. If you made a good impression or you were easy to get along with, that's so much more important sometimes than the playing part. I mean, as long as you gel. But I mean, it's always good that, yeah, man, we always had fun with you. I want to play with you again.
Yeah.
And I even say this to drummers. I'm not here to impress drummers. I'm here to impress other guys, guitar players, keyboard guys, singers, because they want a good drummer behind them.
Sure.
And I'm not going to worry about how flashy or whatever. It's like, I'm not here to impress you guys,
Right.
And I got that too, because I always like to tell people, like when I was in my teens, I was a prick. And I used to tell
That's what we heard.
And I used to tell people that all the time. But I used to tell people that all the time. And then, you grow up, though.
Yeah.
Well,
you realize,
you do.
Who wants to be in a band or anything with somebody who's got, like, an attitude?
It's a learning...
Yeah. You mature. If you're the same person you were 10 years ago,
right.
you got something wrong with you. But one of my other observations of being involved in music myself for all these years, and I saved everybody the torture of playing by doing a podcast.
I know this has been.
We all want to.
This has been tough.
We all want to. We'd love it to be super famous, whatever else. But you got to go in with the attitude. You want to just have fun.
I want to play.
Enjoy yourself.
I want to play. I want to have fun.
And I've seen bands play, and I go, these guys are really good musicians, but they're looking at the clock.
Yeah.
This is just, they're going by, they could do this in their sleep. Other bands you see, you go, these guys are digging playing, it's fun.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's always the nights where you're like, oh man, I need to get out of here. I mean, you're just in a crummy mood or something, but then the next day you're not there anymore.
Yeah.
So then you just have to bounce back.
And it is true, because it's like always like the good horror stories where you don't want to burn bridges.
Stories or horror stories?
Well, those two, but I can't. We'll do those on another episode.
Oh, and another episode.
The dark side of our music careers.
Horrors I have known.
Horrors I've known.
The Elk Hotel, the Cadillac Hotel.
Oh, man.
But the thing about, imagine like, I've always used this example because I'm involved with businesses, that you come in, you have an attitude, then you call the person wanting a recommendation.
Yeah. Right.
You try to, don't burn bridges like that.
Yep, it's very important. Very.
So how we come into the picture, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, this is the carnival, man. This is how we do it.
So Howie comes into the band, and he just makes it all work, and he and I, we lock in. I really enjoy working with Howie. He's a good egg. He can get on your nerves, and we get along well. I know how to to deal with Howie. He knows how to deal with me.
He's a very serious guy.
Yeah,
he doesn't goof around a whole lot.
Well, we've got a thing on stage, man, where he'll turn and look at me, and he'll just make me laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just one of those guys. He's got that personality. He just makes me laugh. We just did a private party, an outdoor private party, and I'm laughing already because it was outside. It was a damp, rainy night. We were under a tent. And he was getting attacked by a mosquito. Like I've never seen. This mosquito was relentless. Now we're playing. And he's trying to swat the mosquito away, and it's landing on him. Of course, he's just a step ahead of me, and I'm watching him, and I'm going, it's on your ear, it's on your head, it's on your neck. You know, we're in the middle of a song. I was just laughing. You had to be there, obviously, but it was funny.
Sounds funny.
Yeah.
The old days with Abilene, I told Danny, like years ago, there was this one bush out on the outside stage.
Yeah.
You didn't want to be playing there. And I was like telling one of my friends playing, dude, move. He's like, nah, it's fine. Then I'll see you during the show.
Everywhere. Yeah.
It was like those cone flowers.
Yeah. Last year we did another outdoor thing, and I don't know if it was a bee flew down his shirt. Howie's shirt.
No. Oh my gosh.
Right in the middle of the song. It was like all of a sudden we just abruptly came to a screeching halt, and he dropped his guitar, and he's jumping around. Oh my God. I don't know.
Oh man, I would have loved to have seen that.
Oh my God, it was.
Did you get a song out of it though?
We should have. We shouldn't have written a song about it. It's like
you could see if you get Sting to sing on it.
I got a bee in my shirt.
So it was a reunion of sorts coming into the Third Degree, because Howie played for a number of years, maybe 10 years, I'm going to guess, with our other guitar player from Third Degree, Jim Mitchell. And they had a band together for quite a while. They were really good. I'm going to forget the name of that band now. See, I didn't bring my notes. But it was a reunion for Howie and Jimmy, and a reunion for myself and Howie. And we've had a lot of good times together, a lot of laughs. I really enjoyed myself playing in the band.
You know Jim Bonanno, don't you?
Jimmy Bonanno, of course. He was in the circle of bars and bands that we played back in the 70s. The Centurion was one of them, and with Jimmy was with Center Stage.
Yep, he was in that band with me in the high school thing. It was
like
he was an interesting guy, man. He had an SGE, and I remember it was like, he's a good guy, good singer.
The light went on. Jumping back to Jimmy and Howie's band was Shinbone Alley.
Oh, yeah.
Have
you ever seen Shinbone? I tell you what, killer band.
Yeah.
Killer band. With Dave Charnevsky was on the other lead guitar, was Dave and Jimmy. And I'll tell you what, they were killer guitars. I mean, they really worked well together, Jim.
That's a cool name, too.
Yeah, Shinbone Alley. So it was a reunion, having Jimmy and Howie back together again after quite a few years, and then Howie and I, as I mentioned, back together again after Ezra and the Storm.
You know, this is a weird thing. This has nothing to do with the music part, but what are the odds of this? Back in the late, my dad was sick. I think he got a heart attack or something, and he's in the hospital. And for whatever reason, he's in the same room with Jim Bonanno's father.
Oh, is that right?
And that was like so weird. And I was like, oh man,
that is weird.
Yeah, and it was like, oh my God. And it was like,
it's like when my dad bought a car from Scorgy.
Oh yeah.
So
that's been like a master class of the scene over the decades. It's been great.
Yeah. We've come a long way since our formative years.
Yeah, I mean, we're all part of a nice little group, and we, respect
one general
each other.
question I'll ask though: what were your observations on how has the scene changed, or what have you seen through the years now?
Well, mostly it's how many nights in a row you're playing. Most all the gigs today are one-night stands, where, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the Centurion was 6 nights. You'd set up and you'd be there, 2 weeks we were there at the Centurion. Yeah. 6 nights a week. I think the only night they were closed was a Monday night. But the work environment was a lot different back then. Everybody was whether you were at Kodak or Rochester Products, Bausch and Lomb, all the major factories, they were going full blast.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was working back then, so the bars were doing well.
Yeah, you were like one of those, like my dad, where he was one of the only ones in the 70s. He got straight days.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I did shift work over the summers, and you going, that's going to be great.
No, shift work is tough. I managed to stay away from it most of my career working in the factories.
He was really happy about that. I guess like when he's one of the guys with the days.
Yeah, I had been laid off from Kodak. I actually passed on a job at Kodak. I was in the process of possibly getting laid off on my current job way back early on, and they offered me a job working shift work in roll coating at Kodak Park, and I went and looked at the job in the dark room, and I said, this is really not for me. If I take it, I just may quit, and they may never call me back. I may have a better chance of just turning down the job and getting laid off and getting recalled down the road. And that's exactly what happened. After a little over a year, they called me and offered me a straight day job in the warehouse. And I had a 6 to 2:30 job for 20 years. I got lucky. I was able to play my music on the weekends because I was a part-time musician. Play my music during the weekends and then be home for the family during the week.
Right.
Because I was married back then and I had a young family. My son was just born in 1980. So, it all worked out for me there.
Sometimes things just fall, that's the way I try to, don't force things and things, things
and the money has changed a lot from those days, too, because you used to, you'd play all those days, but you'd end up with $250 or something. Everybody got, a couple $100. I mean, in the 70s, that was a lot of money,
that was a lot of money.
Y'all were going to pay you $300, and y'all drank $400 worth of beer.
Yeah, right.
Well, I worked with a few of those guys who owed the bar money at the end of the gig. Yeah. So, but it's been a long. What's that line? Strange trip it's been, kids.
Which could be the theme of this show, too. Yeah. But this has been awesome, Steve. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. I really.
You're welcome back. Welcome
Thank
to
you.
replace him.
But
hey, two drummers and all really.
So, Greg, get out.
Okay.
No, you enjoyed yourself. Come on back.
Yeah.
But we're going to have your call. What do you want to play? You have a whole bunch of stuff you could explain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did bring back. Or I didn't bring back because I haven't been here before, have I? I brought in.
don't know. At this point, we've been doing it. Greg, has he been here before?
Yeah.
Did he wear the clown mask the one time?
So I did bring a CD here that
you can play a couple songs if you'd like.
Brought a couple things, but this one here I'm pretty proud of. It was done live in the studio, and it was with Ezra in the Storm. There's a couple songs on here that I sang on. I'd really like the general public to hear some of this. They don't know. Not everyone knows my talents.
How is it? I've asked Greg, because I know Greg sings his couple songs too. How is it? Is it tough when you're drumming, singing? Because he's done it too. I've seen you.
It's hard not to slow down or speed up. That's the thing you gotta worry about the most.
Your timing. Well, with Howie, he's my timekeeper, and he'll let me know. He'll turn and look at me and say, "Speed it up," slow it down. And he helps me out a lot.
You have to sort of fit in words to where the grooves are, and it's an acquired talent, kind of. You just have to figure that out.
I'm going to leave you with a joke today.
Okay.
This is a really special show.
Here, ladies and gentlemen, Andy's cutting in for a third time, but he's got a joke.
And then we'll hear these songs afterwards.
Yeah.
How do you know there's a drummer knocking at your door?
I don't know this one.
How do you know there's a drummer knocking at your door?
Well, I don't know. How do you know there's a drummer knocking at your door?
The knock speeds up.
That was a little bit of a knock.
I don't think
against drummers.
I don't think I can follow that one. Anything to add, you guys? I'm done.
Nope.
So I got a couple of blues tunes here, ladies and gentlemen, that I'd like you maybe to hear a little snippet of. One is, you probably remember it from the Blues Brothers, and I sing the lead on that. It's called Almost. I Got Everything I Need. Almost. And the other one is a classic blues tune, Let Me Love You, Baby.
All right.
Well, when we play that, we have a full tank of gas, a pack of cigarettes, dark out wearing sunglasses. Hit it!
Hit it!
Thanks, man.
Count it off!